Movie time. Have anyone watched the movie Alpha Code? You can find this movie on YouTube for free. I was watching this movie yesterday, and I am really interested in the galactics. I even consider myself to be one. But in this movie, it talks about these hybrid children, and that the Greys come and they get their hybrid children. However, those that were hybrid children, they could not remember. Like, they chose not to remember because they wanted to live normal lives. So this man's daughter, she gets taken. Like, he actually see the ship come and the ship takes her. So then you have the government, where the government comes and the government is trying to tell him, like, your house burned up. They're trying to hide something. And what was so interesting was that the government agents were all dressed in black. So immediately my mind went to the archonic energy. Like, they said that there's these figures in all black who operates the 7 different layers of heaven, who tries to block our progression or block our remembrance on who we are. So anyway, they're chasing him and they're doing this and they're doing that. And what I found was interesting was that there was one agent that kept showing his face. So I'm going to come back to that agent in a minute. So he meets up with these other people by searching the internet, and a number pops up that says, "You forgot." And so he calls the number. It could have been, "You need to remember." I don't know. But he calls the number and he meets up with a group of people who are living out in the woods, and they have had relatives being taken away, all of these other things. And so they're telling him that they were not the ones who were chosen, even though they were all part of this galactic plan. Only a certain ones were chosen, which were the hybrids, those that wanted to remember. And they kept seeing this swirly symbol that would help them to remember, but their minds had been blocked. Anyway, the elder began to tell him that in order for you to remember, you have to access higher frequency. And when you tap into that higher frequency, you will remember. So he was doing meditation and he started tapping into the higher frequency, and they told him to imagine a sideways 8, which we know is the infinity symbol. And as he began to imagine that, he began to remember, and he was able to see, like, when the government agents was coming. So that kind of reminded me of that when you begin to tap into a higher frequency here, that and you focus in on your meditation, you're able to recognize the archonic energy. You're able to recognize on whether or not you are being prompted by something to express, or if it's not, whether it's yours or whether it's not yours. So he was able to tap into their energy and knew where they were coming and all of that other stuff. So he ends up going to this farm, and then he sees these children there. They all got this white looking hair or whatever. And he actually sees his daughter, because remember, his daughter was taken. And his daughter says, the Alpha 1 is waiting to talk to you. So he goes to see Alpha 1. Meantime, here comes these figures and all of this black, and they pop up, and the one figure in the black that they kept showing his face, that his daughter was his girlfriend. So when he see her, he forgets about his mission. He is in love. And that reminds me of Sophia and the one archonic energy that changed his mind and went against the demiurge. Yes, it's a whole story. Like, this is what the Gnostics teach. So he's with her. But as they are trying to shoot, they're shooting this woman who's holding this baby, which actually reminded me of the Madonna energy, the Black Madonna energy. She's got the child, he's shooting. She causes these energies to disappear. The bullets don't hit her. So all of these archonic energies, or I'm going to say I'm getting lost. The government energies, these government men, they begin to vanish. Now, at the beginning of this movie, there's a woman holding this baby, and she hears this signal. She feels this signal that they are near. So in order for her to access the portal, she jumps into the river, the water, and disappear. And that was important part that I forgot to mention, because it's all coming back to me. However, when this guy decides to go see Alpha 1, he puts his feet into the water, which I'm saying, okay, the water is a portal. And as he puts his feet into the water, there is a black hole. It's dark. Now think about how they say we got to go into the void, right? Imagine we are in our mother's womb. We do not see daylight at all. We are in a watered womb. We are surrounded by fluid. And then we come down through the tunnel and we are birthed, and then we see this light, right? So he goes into this hole and it's water. When he steps into it, he sees this being sitting there, and a being is telling him the whole story from when they landed with the Roswells, who they were. Now all grays are bad. It's just telling him the story that they created these hybrid children, and they wanted their children to be connected with their human mothers, and they wanted these hybrid children to have emotions. Yes, to have emotions, because they were void of any emotions, because according to some stories, the grays were created by reptilians. That is just so crazy how they put this story together in this movie. So in the book that I'm reading, the Astro Legends Guidebook, the Dralov Codex, in this book it talks about how there were women who were taken, and these women were used to give birth to hybrid children. And some women who could not carry these children to full term would either miscarry or something would happen. And while they were under, basically these species would come and they would take the children. But it was also saying that if a human mother wanted to connect with her hybrid children, all she had to do was go into a deep meditation at night and ask that she be taken to see her children. So I thought that that was so interesting in watching this movie. That is my synopsis of this movie. I really liked this movie, Alpha Code. It was very interesting, especially for those who are galactics. And I don't mean that in the sense that we're waiting for the alien ships. I mean that we understand the energy that is pertaining to that, whether it's spiritual, whether it's cosmic. And we use our brains to analyze and see how all of this connects. And so Alpha Code, go watch that movie and let me know what you think. And like I said, that movie is on YouTube.